Today we're talking to the chairman and treasurer of Altrincham Juniors, JFC as they call themselves, Paul Woolley. Paul, thank you for joining us
Pleasure.
this evening. And first of all, tell us about the formation of the junior section of Altrincham football.
Gosh, how long have we got? 1971, Hale Barnes United. And back in the day, John Halfpenny, a very well-known local sort of coach and trainer, together with Chris Bullock. And in addition to John, there was people, a lot of coaches that have long since retired, running as many as 15 teams. And as John says to me, 15 back in the day was a lot. And as that evolved, I think we're now in our 2007, 2008, we came together with Altrincham Football Club and formed the junior section. And that started to really accelerate, and it's accelerated certainly over the last 15 or 16 years. And then, of course, again, about 5 or 6 years ago, we started a girls section. And the girls section started through the efforts of a young lady called Rachel Davis. And Rachel started with something that the FA termed to be Wildcats. They play down every Wednesday at the boys' grammar school there. And actually, when we first started there, as Rachel would describe, we would have about 20, all sort of, age 4, age 5, age 6. We now have so many that we can't fit them all on that surface. And so we now actually have them not only at the boys' school, but we've also got them at Partington Sports Village, and next season we might well have some of them across at St Ambrose. I would say that we're currently running just at that level between the Wildcats on a Wednesday run by Rachel and Kirsty, and the Altrincham Mini Kickers, or what some people perhaps watching this would refer to as the Saturday Soccer School. But now that's into Altrincham Junior Kickers, and every Saturday now that is broken down into age groups. And again, we have close to 120 that come through that route as well. And what we've tried to do over the years is form a pathway so that from under 6s all the way to under 18s, into the youth team. And of course, we've seen examples of that with a couple of the people coming through into the first team squad. And hopefully now as we evolve and we grow, we'll see that both on the boys' side and on the girls' side as well. The pathway on the girls' side is starting to get more formed, and certainly we've seen a lot of the girls, the ladies' first team this year. I would say at least half of those came through from the junior football club. And of course, back in the day, Duncan Watmore was the first one that came through our youth team with George Eslop and myself. And that structure has been put in place by the JFC. So the two youth teams that play in the Northwest Youth Alliance are affiliated to the junior football club. And then we stop once we get to that point and hand them over into the youth setup and beyond wherever they go. So it's grown now, Brand, to we've got 74 teams. So 74 teams, of which is particularly the girls section is growing as fast as the boys section was in the early days. And we're certainly running something of the order of roughly 40 boys teams, 30 to 33 girls teams. And indeed, even tonight, you look, I think I just mentioned to you before we came on camera, when we last did this photograph, 2016, wow. Stuart Buchan sent me the photograph. We just about covered the top left-hand corner of the stand. And I actually said to Sam McKenzie and to Lawrence that it'd be really nice to actually do it and see if we could fill the stand. And we not only filled the stand tonight, there was at least 200 people we couldn't actually fit in there. So that gives you some quantifiable sort of idea of how the JFC has grown over the years, recognised by the Cheshire SA and the FA. We were awarded the prestige award of being Grassroots Club of the Year, and this last year we've been awarded the Safeguarding Club of the Year. So the club's grown, but it's grown in a responsible way as well, and in a balanced way. Our biggest issue is managing that growth, because certainly on all of the boys teams from under 12s down to under 7s, we've actually got waiting lists. waiting lists for people, and at under nines, it's a competitive process, just like trying to get into a local school, trying to get into the JFC under nines, where we take 5 teams that usually come out of the Saturday mini kickers and out of the junior kickers. And the same with the girls. The girls are a little bit more, if Rachel and Marjorie, my exec colleagues, were here, they talk more articulate than I can, but they tell me that girls are a little bit more, they like to try various things, and they don't settle to play football until they get to about 10 or 11. And interestingly, just seeing some of those interviews and seeing the enthusiasm that we get, and actually coming to some of the games myself and seeing them, they're just great, aren't they? They're absolutely great. And so the JFC, to answer one question you asked me 10 minutes ago, and I apologise, the growth of the club has been unbelievable, and also to manage that growth. It was even interesting for me tonight on that photograph, seeing I don't think I've actually seen as many of our coaches in one place at one time. 168 qualified people, and there was nearly 100 of them there tonight. And sometimes you think on a week-to-week basis, when you're dealing with some of the issues that invariably come up, managing over 1,000 kids and 1,000 sets of parents, it was really, really sort of gratifying to see, just the pleasure on all of their faces tonight, all running around with their Alti tops on, and really proud. They're really proud to be involved, and I think that's great for the football club. And
that pride really comes through. You notice it at a weekend. If you're driving around Altrincham, Timpley, Hale Barnes, Hale, wherever, you see red and white striped shirts everywhere. I picked my daughter up from work this afternoon. I was driving across the crossing at Navigation Road. There was a young girl there, probably about 13, maybe 14, 12, 13, 14, coming across the crossing in with the J. Davidson scrap shirt on. And it's magnificent to see, and it's very uplifting.
I completely agree, and I think what's been really gratifying to us, I heard you asking questions before, I think perhaps there are some clubs in the area that have been a bit further on than us. They've been a bit longer around, and they have better structures in place to actually allow. Our ethos is we're not an academy. We're absolutely not the club as an academy. We try and allow the players to play at the level they're comfortable with, and actually give them the opportunity to evolve and develop. And that's really paid dividends for us, because all the kids just settle into the level that they're comfortable with. And this last 12 months, we've seen, and again, that's a massive evolution for us. I think on both sides, both girls and boys, we've got at least 10 girls teams and at least 10 boys team that have either won their league or won a cup. We've certainly got both boys teams and girls teams in county cup finals. If you went back 5 or 6 years, that wasn't the case, Brian. Wasn't the case. And we had a lot of players that came in that wanted to play, even within junior football, to move on and play at a better standard. We're not getting people that leave anymore.
And clearly, there was lots of people involved at the beginning. It's growing very, very quickly and growing organically. And most importantly, as you say, the male and the boys and the girls
definitely
are both growing to a level where in themselves they're both quite big structures, big organisations.
Yeah, that's a really relevant and great point, Brian, because there are bigger boys clubs, there are bigger girls clubs. There is no bigger mixed club in Cheshire County or in Manchester County. So when I talk to the Cheshire County, they say that's what's unique about Altrincham JFC. You get clubs that have got I'm carefully saying my words. They're either a big boys club, so they have a couple of girls teams, and vice versa. And there's lots of examples of that, whereas we've not done that. And certainly since I took over the chair, my ethos and my mantra has been equal opportunities for the boys and the girls. And even on our exec, there's as many ladies on the exec whereas a number of years ago it was just all guys. Dads with their boys playing football, but now it's equally represented. This next 12 months, the exec will evolve again to represent the growth of the girls' game and the growth of the boys' game. And what I've been trying to do, and sometimes I don't mind telling you, it can be difficult, is hold the two together. It's one junior football club. It's not a girls' football club. It's not a boys' football club. And I think that's landing now. It's really landing. And it was really nice tonight to see, the boys and the girls mixing and taking a little bit of fun out of each other.
A magnificent, I mean, the stand full of Alti juniors, and also the number of parents in the Golf Road end.
I know.
It almost felt like
a home game.
A home game, exactly. It almost felt like a home game. So it's quite a surreal experience, but a great experience.
Yeah, it was. I completely agree with that. And I went into the stand to try and clear the parents out so we could, we could get the photo taken. And it was really nice. It was nice. I saw quite a lot of parents talking to some of my exec colleagues and shaking their hands and saying thank you and stuff like that. And I think you're right. It's a great experience, and the kids thoroughly enjoy it as well. And we provide the structure. And what I was interested in, just listening to some of the questions there. So where do you play? We play at we play at this school. We train here and stuff. And it's fantastic to listen. But and it's all, as you quite rightly say, and again, talking to Lawrence and Sam at the start of this season, what we've tried to do is so that effectively the JFC becomes a mirror of the first team and everything to do with the senior football club, in that they are kitted out and dressed exactly the same way as the first team, and that matters to them. It really matters to them, and so there is an affiliation to it. So historically, even stuff like as we've been evolving, you might have an assortment of varying kits across the club, but not anymore. And it's taken some structure and management, but to give you some idea, if you went back even 5 or 6 years ago, it would be 3 or 4 people trying to sort of manage the JFC. We've now got an exec of 8, and that exec, all 8 members are kept fully busy. For example, we've got somebody whose job is safeguarding to make sure all 168 adults are safe to actually operate with the kids. Is a really responsible job. We are a discipline officer, and you'd be surprised how many things happen. Just, God love them, parents, grandparents, etc., watching games. Certainly proved to be interesting opportunities for us to get our discipline officer involved. And again, it's the structures and processes we've put in place and the environment that we've created, actually making sure it's a fun environment. I was really pleased to hear some of those questions. What do you like about playing for the JFC? It's fun. It's great. So they're enjoying the game of football, and that's really, really good. And I think we're doing okay.
So well established as an organisation now, Altrincham Juniors, and in recent years we've introduced the academy, and that's really important because that's provided the missing link between junior football and the reserves and ultimately the first team, and the academy is hugely important to the future of the football club.
Yeah, I completely agree, and certainly for a number of years I've been a big supporter of that. And Paul Fay, that runs it, of course, he ran the youth teams when I introduced the first 2 youth teams on the back of some work done by George Heslop, God rest his soul. And we actually took those youth teams and drove on. But what was happening was you could see that kids that decided not to go to university, that wanted to go a bit further in football, there was no outlet for them. So I think the academy is a massive additional positive piece for the senior football club to actually, as you quite rightly say, provide that link between junior football and senior football. And I was only talking to Sarah Newton about it a couple of days ago, and she was saying that they're running with 40 kids. And I think, again, that also evolves, as you well know, Brian, in that my understanding is this year it's been oversubscribed. Now, that's a big movement from where it started 2 or 3 years ago. So, I think when you look from the journey from, as we've said, from Altrincham junior kickers, so we saw them there, you saw some of them here chatting, through into the JFC. We look after them then from when they come from about 5 through to 18. They get the opportunity to play in the 2 youth teams that play at a very competitive level over a weekend, and then if they want to, into the academy, and then the link through into the senior team. So I think the structure and the infrastructure and the pathway through is there. I think if we're guilty of something that we need to get a bit better, it's on the girls' pathway. Whilst there is a girls' pathway, talking to some of the people around it, Rachel, Marjorie Murphy have been helping, it's not as established as the boys' pathway. But I think it's good that we acknowledge that, because we know that in the next 12 months we've got to get better at it, and we have now got both. We've got a development officer for the Wildcats, Rachel. We've got in place effectively a girls development officer, and Craig Herman's come on board that actually ran one of the successful teams that went into the ladies team, and he's helping a lot now to actually evolve and develop those girls between 14 and 17.
And great to hear that a lot of the girls have come through to the women's first team this season. And that's got to be a hugely important thing for the future. And of course, on the men's side, we've got Tom Jones, who started as a 6-year-old,
he did,
all the way through Alti Juniors, through JFC, through the youth teams, into the academy, and now is a first team player. And that's a fantastic story.
It is, yeah, absolutely. And I don't think Tom will be he's obviously a recent prodigy. I don't think he'll be the last. I think there's a few behind him. When I watched the youth teams play 3 weekends ago, and there's a number of players in there that I think that'll go well. And I, again, talking to Paul and Sarah, I think quite a few have actually come into the academy this year, so I think that's positive as well.